one kind of hacky way of checking to see if you have cleaned up your data enough and if your prompts are solid. So I finally cleaned a ton of data, and now I put in my data and my prompt question on the left hand side into Claude Sonnet, and then on the right hand side into Owen Preview. And the results were very similar. And this was like a ton of data, like thousands of rows. It's not like the millions of rows like I do if I'm at a tech company or something, but it was a pretty involved question. And the question was just like, this is my business use case, right? So I guess I can show you part of it. So here's my very involved question, but I have been scaling this question down, like shaving off things that it doesn't need, making sure that I'm really clear on what I'm trying to do. So I told it like, these are the 7 niche topics or niche services, products or services that I offer. These are all the websites that I have. These are my business constraints, including if these websites don't serve the purpose for what we're trying to do, which is to expedite the money-making part of this whole thing. Now that I have all this automation in place and now that I have the courses in place, like what do I do next, right? So the main overarching theme was like fastest revenue generation possible. And, like people can think what they want about that part is that there's some stuff I want to do for my dogs that has to do with AI and some esoteric math stuff that I want to work on, right? So like this is really important to me because if I can self-sustain for the next month, then I can build that out and then start moving towards what's called, I just discovered this, it's called biogeometry, which is like a version of sacred geometry, which like ties the math back to the holistic being and the way that it ties to our soul and I guess like just like our happiness and our body, how our happiness is tied to our body, like all sorts of like metaphysical stuff. But they actually talk about sacred geometry through this biogeometry, which is what I think is like just so fascinating because it's a way to kind of like get to be like the like the energy healer person, like whisperer plus the math whisperer, like all meshed into one. So anyway, that's why I need to get this to be as profitable as possible. $2,000 a month is not unreasonable, considering like that this stuff is not that expensive what I'm planning to roll out. But I'm not trying to turn this into a sales thing, right? I mean, I always will because I've been through sales training now. But what I want to do is I want to make it easier for you as a business owner or for you as someone who just got laid off to really understand like how do I transition into finding a job if that's what you want to continue doing? So I have some classes for that. Or if you're a business owner, I want to make it easier for you to be able to figure out how to use AI for yourself. And that is the gist of the courses that I'm putting together, right? Because it's got to be like really scary to get laid off of tech. Because if you're getting laid off now, then you were probably one of like the more solid nerds, right? Like for me, this is my second like half a life or whatever. This is like my post midlife crisis career. And so if I get jobs, it's like, oh, that's cool, but like it's got to be really different when it was like what you thought you'd be doing for the rest of your life. And suddenly this new technology rolls out and you're faced with like, I went to all this school, like I know how to do all my stuff, but yet, they're rolling out all this automation. How do I even stay relevant? Well, I can, like if it's necessary, I can show you like the non-stop phone calls and like invitations through LinkedIn and through my emails to apply for jobs. Like I am not facing a shortage of jobs, but what I want to do is I want to get to like build stuff, right, that I feel aligns with my soul's mission. And if I can't do it this way, it's okay. I'll just get a job again and then like build my dogs like biogeometry stuff or like animals biogeometry stuff using AI like on my spare time. But I really think that other people might really be interested in knowing how to help your dog like align, or your pet, even your pet iguana, whatever. Like, I mean, there's so much there, and it's just so fascinating. And when I was a teacher, so this would have been like 20 years ago. I guess these kids, if you were in like around kindergarten to second grade about 20 years ago, like I would have been about your kindergarten teacher at that time. No, wait, no, not 20 years ago. I'm crazy. If I'm 46, no, like 10 or 15 years ago. So I'm 26, let's see, hold on, 46, 36. Yeah, like 10 or 15 years ago, I would have been, actually, I guess it is about that. No, it can't be, because I would have been 26 and there's no way. So I was like 36, like, so yeah, like 10 years, let's just say like between 10 and 13 years ago, right? Like that's about the age group when I taught that group of kids that were between like 5 and, let's say, 5 and 11. Because some of them, like were in I taught fourth grade one year, blah, blah, right? But I know that when you were in school at that time, our focus was really on teaching the whole child. It was like still quite holistic, although it was right as they were rolling in like more academics, less fun for school, for kids in school. And this pendulum swings all the time, just so you know. But I know that there's probably like that sense of like life was supposed to be more fun, because when you're a teacher, you're, no matter, even if you come up with your own curriculum, there is like an almost prescripted approach to how you should teach people, right? Or what you should focus on. So like the state will tell you, like, this year we need you to focus on kids being both physically healthy and mentally healthy, and also knowing how to read 100 words or whatever, right? So it's like, I don't know if people that are outside of education know that or not. What I'm trying to say is, like, I know that I can make courses that can help you get to that faster, because now that I've become an AI engineer and I still have like the fresh memories of like all those, like, good memory of having like a happy classroom, and like seeing kids be excited to go to school, like that just made my day, right? Just like when I get so excited when I see my pets like excited about getting their dinner or whatever, just like, but I don't know, I guess it's the maternal thing. And plus I feel like generally pretty happy, like, for the most part. So I can help you get to there faster. And I have had like a uber successful quarter life crisis, even more successful midlife crisis. And I've been fired many times, and I always fail upwards. Like I always more than double my income when I get fired. So if you just got laid off, like, I'm not saying that help is coming, because you gotta like take the help, right? But there are options. Like, there is a way to navigate what's gonna happen next, to make it easier or harder for yourself. And then also there are like the business owners that are like, oh my God, like these big, huge AI companies are starting to steamroll everyone. How am I going to compete with like supply chain optimization, when Walmart starts dropping their prices even more, because now they have like robots doing all the manual labor, so they don't have to pay people. And like, how do you even begin to know how to stay relevant at that point? Like, how do you compete with, like mom and pop shop down the street that is using social listeners to find out how much I'm charging for my bread every day? And then every time that I think I'm putting stuff on sale, like, they find out, and then they charge $1 less. And so all the business is going to them. Well, all those things that you don't even know were things you couldn't have predicted, because you didn't spend your time working at these companies, like seeing how they're using AI for like the bigger picture, right? Like I can't expect you to know that all that is even happening. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to not only like how AI is affecting all of us, but also all the stuff you could do proactively to make sure that you stay on the right side of this and like you come out ahead. Because there will be the businesses that come out ahead, and then there will be the businesses that chose to not, right? It's all coming down to your choice. Same thing with careers. So I just wanted to put out this video to tell you that not that that's why I'm doing this, right? And this time I hope, better about answering the question in the video at the very beginning, and then, going on my soapbox after, so that people that watch the video get the answer to the question that they're looking at really quickly. And I'm trying to put the timing on the comments also of like when I answer the question. I just don't think linearly, and I've thought about like, is a better content producer someone who just answers the question? And the answer to that for myself is, yeah, but then all I am is just like another data point, right? And I think that the way that wheels turn when you get to hear the metacognitive process of someone who's thinking about something from beginning to end is the true value in what made a teacher an effective teacher versus someone who got some kids to pass some things, right? So like, as you hear me unfold the way that I think about how do I apply AI, if I'm a tech layoff, or if I am a business owner that's facing competition, hearing how I even get to the questions, right, is the way that I would teach kindergarten, when I would tell the kids, like, this is how I get to the memory of what that letter sounded like when I studied it. So those metacognitive processes, you can't really find them very many places because, I mean, I'm just gonna be real, right? Like most men don't have that depth of self-awareness of their thoughts. They're usually not always, but very often linear thinkers that have a formula. And then when you go work at these companies, right, then they have like a step by step that they follow, and they discourage you from multitasking. And in some scenarios that you have to, because you have to pay attention to what you're doing, especially if you're dealing with like sensitive data, like IoT data. You know, if you're like adjusting temperatures of things or whatever, like you do need to be really mindful. But I'm an architect, I'm no longer just like dealing with one little tiny thing at a time, right? So like listening to the inner dialogue is the best word I can think of for that. The inner dialogue of how you even get to the point where you know what to ask for when someone is like, what kind of service do you need, right? Like that unfolding of knowing what to ask for when none of this really exists yet has been the most valuable skill I've been I guess like developing in the last year, because there literally was nothing that I could find in SEO or anywhere because none of this stuff existed, right? Like we're all inventing it as we go. It's not like SEO with Google has been around for 20 something years. Well, SEO matters because it's like, my sales coach told me this, he's like, compared to something people can relate to, right? SEO is like, if I own a building in Manhattan and I put up a sign right in the middle of Manhattan that's huge, well, people can find my business that's in my building. If I don't put up a big, huge sign, maybe someone will find my business, but certainly many fewer people than if I put up my big, huge sign. That's what SEO is. And now with GEO, generative engine optimization, like the game has changed. And I won't go into the weeds of all that because I've done it in a video that has something to do with Pac-Man, like the title says something about Pac-Man. And I don't link them in the description because I'm not your secretary, man. Like that's BS to me, but I am. One of the things I am working on is like how to take all of my own like stuff that I put on YouTube and then put it into my own LLM, and then that way, you know, like instead of telling people like, oh well, go through my videos, because that's some BS, right? Like I've had teachers tell me like, go through my videos and find it, F that, right? Like that's too much work. So taking kind of like all my own transcripts and then putting them into a website that's separate from my YouTube channel, and then directing people to that website so that number one, I get the traffic. Number two, I get the SEO and the GEO. Number three, I get the data on what exactly people are asking me specifically so that I know what to make content on that really caters to like my tribe. Because yeah, you can get some of that data off of YouTube, but it seems, you know, I watch some of these like YouTube like AI commentators, and it's like, other than data, right? And I actually texted her earlier today and I was like, hey man, can I comment on your reaction? Can I react to your reaction video? Because like literally like that's one of the only sources of like legit AI information that's not gossip driven and that is also like relatable, right? It's like easier to want to say something about that because she has a better way of explaining stuff, right? And then I feel like the space I'm filling is like taking that and then applying it to local businesses. And right now, like if anybody's like struggling with the tech layoff stuff, you know, like doing that, which by the way, if you are, you can go to my website. I am getting more subscriptions for this, so thank you everyone who's subscribing. I will get to sending out a newsletter for this. I don't track you. It doesn't track your session cookies. It does give you like a session ID up here, because it's how the LLM has the conversation with the OpenAI API backend, right? Otherwise, like I have no way of ever knowing who said what when. If OpenAI has installed guardrails, you know, that flag somebody because you're talking about things that could hurt somebody, like if they have anything like that and they can track your location using your own settings up here, like that's different. But I don't request your location or anything like that. Like if the site requests your location, that is completely nothing to do with me. You can look at the code. Yeah, so this is what I'm building the course on. For like the first little mini course is like how to get a website to talk to the LLMs through here. But the reason I'm saying this is like if you're a tech layoff, like I do get it, okay? Like that's why I decided to do this, because I got tired of the hamster wheel of like like, not today you have a job and then tomorrow you don't, and it was never your fault. It's because the company is like shrinking, and now we need you to spend 2 weeks preparing for this interview so that you can work for another month, and then we'll fire you because the tech industry is shrinking. Like, I just got so tired of that. And I'm also like a middle-aged Hispanic female, disabled veteran dyslexic, right? And that's a lot of things to call myself, but that is what I am. So like, statistically speaking, like, I have less, what is the word? Probability of getting a job. And if I'm still getting all these job offers, like, so can you. You just need to like play the game, right? So that's all I'm doing is, as I am rolling out these videos, as I'm creating this content, as I am making all these use cases, I'm masterfully adding to my digital real estate. I'm owning my own data so that I can move from reasoners to the next thing, which is, what is it? Sorry, let me remember what Sam Altman called them. From reasoners to innovators, right? Or I'm sorry, from agents to reasoners. So a lot of every product I built like is findable so that the reasoners can find it. And I'm starting to go off the rails here. Like, this was about how I'm using Claude and ChatGPT, right? And how yesterday I made a video about how like Gemini and ChatGPT were like not good at digesting a ton of data. And they're still not. But like with the old-fashioned data science, I finally got my data cleaned up enough to where I was able to finally perfect the prompts. These prompts both gave me the same answers essentially. Like, they go about coding it slightly differently. This one does not use any kinds of like I'm kind of surprised that neither of them suggested like k-means, right, or something like that, which is fine. But this one does suggest cosine similarity, and this one does suggest, let's see, there was another one, sentence transformers. So this one does it in a more like Pythonic, well, definitely in a Pythonic way. It doesn't, let me see. Oh, well, actually, it uses TF-IDF vectorizer. So I'm always like fascinated that most of them usually default to cosine similarity and TF-IDF vectorizer. And I don't know if that's a byproduct of the types of things that I'm interested in, that it leads me down that path versus more like linear. Like, I rarely use, or like now that I use AI, I'm recommended like linear regression models, or what else, like random forest. Like, even when I did my data science project, like, it ended up being about TF-IDF TF-IDF and cosine similarity, which is just like, wow, like maybe it's just the way that my brain works, that I like ask questions that end up being solvable that way. That's like an inverse, I guess, self-realization. But anyway, it does tell me how to cluster here. So this is like, let me see, how does it decide to cluster? Yeah, this isn't like exactly as sophisticated, but it doesn't need to be. So that is my conclusion, is that both Claude's 3.5 Sonnet and O1 Preview gave really good answers to a quite complex and multi-step question that took into account from literally ground zero. Like, this is some data that I have, to this is my business model, and this is my desired outcome, and these are my parameters, and a good outcome would look like this. And it was able to give me like step-by-step, almost identical instructions, and with a little bit of me probing each one a little bit more and asking like for a little bit more, they both gave me like really solid code. And yeah, I'll probably have to debug some of this code. Like, that's probably not going to work out the gate perfectly, but that's like not a big deal, because you can always use VS. Well, I use it with VS Code Cursor, but with VS Code, but like Code Cursor. See, like over here, I was like, why am I not getting every column back into my code, right? So like over here, I was like cleaning all this data, and like this code, like it does give me code, but I rewrite it because I prefer automation, because usually it'll be like, now hard code this, now hard code this, and sometimes like I never want to hard code, because this is just me using like, I don't know, like maybe like 30 column names, but when I work with bigger data sets, like they could have like 3,000 column names, right? And I'm going to be hard coding 3,000 column names. But after cleaning up my data and like getting it to the right place here, after seeing some serious disasters yesterday, like I can show you, like the level of disasters that I was getting from either of these models. Like it was just, I was just like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to like do so much on my own. But then after I stepped away from it for a while, I was able to see, okay, like no, there's a better way to do this. So this is what I was getting right yesterday. Like when I was just strictly using the AI's like suggestions, and then after debugging all its code, I was like, that's not going to work, and that's not even the kinds of link circles that I'm, or what are they called, link clusters that I'm looking for. But now that I cleaned up my data and I refined my prompts, like again, like I'm not seeing too much benefit of one over the other. However, if you are not adept at code, right, like I'm not saying that I'm answering that question. What I am answering is that it was able to give me like a step-by-step, what would you say, a step-by-step decision on or plan of action for how to make sure that I reach the outcome that I wanted. And these steps right here, let me see. So see, oh, okay, so this is what it had given me over here. See, like, I think that here's the artifact. Okay, so like, see, like it told me, it answered exactly the questions that I asked it in my original question, which is over here. And in my original question, I think you can see it. See how much information I gave it? I gave it like samples of my data, and then I also gave it like the 2 steps that I need for it to focus on, because otherwise like Claude tends to go off the rails and like fix like everything, including global warming and solar flares in one answer. And I was like, we're just focusing on this right now, which is maybe how people feel when they watch my videos. But at the same time, I actually, sometimes I like listen to other people that post stuff, because I'm just interested in hearing like their voice, because I think it's like a biomarker almost, like you get used to somebody's voice a little bit. And then the other thing too is like it's okay to listen to sometimes it's okay to listen to people's trains of thoughts, and I don't know, people can always like log off, or like switch out or whatever. Or my suggestion is go to the transcripts and dump it into an LLM and be like, well, what, like, can you just tell me where the important stuff is, or what, and you can also just use Harpa on YouTube, like it'll summarize it for you. So the code question, like which one would I use for code? I don't just use one thing for code, and a lot of the code I fix myself just from years of experience with it. And if I need to write in Python, I write in Python. A lot of the stuff I do in JavaScript, because I do stuff like through the server also, because I do the web stuff. So like all this stuff requires like knowledge of using the web, right? So like I have to be able to toggle, and it's also a lot easier to obfuscate JavaScript if you're doing the server side stuff. So like if the prompts are embedded on this side, or well, actually you might not be able to minify that, but the technology or the architecture behind this, you can obfuscate it easier in JavaScript for the front end stuff, and then like with other stuff in the back end, if it's in Python and such. So it's just easier to connect them. But since I do the architect stuff, like I ended up doing that because because as like computer science was a data science, right? So like I've always been like between those two worlds, and then with the cybersecurity stuff, like then that adds another element. And then because I know full stack, right, like I just end up at jobs where like it's like I get hired for Python, but then I end up like writing a lot of like front end code in, like not JavaScript, like in Node or whatever. So that's always been really interesting. And I think that's all I really want to share for this video. So again, like if you're wondering like which one is better for code, well, I would not say that either is better than the other. It's just really going to depend on how good you are at asking code questions. But which one was better in terms of like, if we were to say AGI means that it can do human level reasoning, like I'm not going to lie, like I don't see how this is not the same thing as human level reasoning. I mean, people can sit there and argue about what AGI means all day. Like it's not going to affect me, right? But I can see it. Like I've taught 5-year-olds for 9 years. So I've seen, so let's see, 30 times 9, at least 200. I think the other day I said I taught 900 kids, and it was like more like 270 kids, right? Or something like that, 270 or 300 5-year-olds. Like I know what it looks like when somebody is past the level, or something is past the level of basic cognitive skill. I'm telling you, like this is in my opinion, like as close to logical thought process as you can get. But I also know how you can create it using decision trees and NLP. So I'm not saying that it's amazing, because it's basically like recursive calls to decision trees, right? Like that's all that it is. If you think about the way that cognitive processes are, and like my first degree is psychology, so I do like have, and I was really fascinated with cognitive psych, so I have like that kind of level of understanding of dissecting the questions. So if I was not someone that needed to learn how to code, right? If I was just business intelligence and you were to ask me, well, do I use Claude or do I use O1 Preview? I would say it's like use either, just make sure you have a really clear question. And I would say use both minimally. And if you get wildly different answers, then either your data sucks or your questions suck. So there's not some other construct I can come up with right now that would be a good test. But this is my dedication to Mr. Berman for like having submitted questions to OpenAI indirectly. You know, basically like he had some problem. Well, I think that this is better than a Turing test, is if like I ask a real life question that isn't trying to trick the LLM with my tricky English or whatever, you know, because it's I can't even fathom that. But I'm asking it a question the way that I would receive a question as an AI architect, with all this massive amounts of information and like digging through all the poo, right? And then like helping the person like formulate the question. Once that question is formulated, and then I put it into the different LLMs and they all come up with relatively the same conclusion, even though their coding strategies or suggestions might not be identical. If they're basically saying like, pick the domains, and then the way to pick the domains is like, we're gonna use some mathy thing that like tells us which words are the best, whatever decision, you know, they make about like which library to use or how to approach it. And then after we pick the best words and we have the clusters set up, then we're going to decide which websites go into which cluster. And then it looks like these domains here are the ones that we should send all the SEO to based on the 7 topics and the business goals. And then this is how you can make sure that we're on track with what we're doing. Like they both essentially said that. So now I feel like I should read my question, but I also don't want to, because I also I don't know. I'm so like, oh, should I keep talking about what I'm doing, because I don't want to get steamrolled, but I also don't think people could copy it. But I also think that the space is so big, like I don't think I'm gonna run out of stuff to do, so I'm just gonna read it. I was about to like log off because it's 27 minutes, but I'm just gonna read this. And again, I'm so sorry that I'm not a linear thinker. I listen to other people's YouTubes and they're like, this is our topic. And I was going to say this in another video that I was going to record. Like when I was in school, I was in GT, like gifted and talented. So I didn't ever go to traditional, you know, like classes until I got to high school, and I got kicked out of honors linear algebra 2 because I was dyslexic, and nobody knew because it wasn't a thing then, and I couldn't do the work, and I wasn't allowed to do homework at home. So like I just like basically flunked out of there. It was the first time that I went into like a regular math class, and I was like, holy shit, like this is so different, and how does anybody learn anything here? But then I have a cousin that went through that same class with that same instructor, and he got his postdoc at Harvard in physics, but also he came from my uncle who had like 3 PhDs in like chemistry and math and stuff. So like he was geared for that, right? But all that to say that like if in my GT class, like we would never, that I can recall, force each other to stop exploring outside of the topic. Like there was never ever this whole like everyone has to agree on the one final thing. And I went to visit Mrs. I don't think she appreciates the last name anymore because she got divorced, but her name was Miss Kovach, and she lives in Colorado. And a few years ago when I was there, I got to go visit her. I got to meet her kids. I got to meet her grandkids, her dogs. They met my Nishi, my Doberman Nishi, right? And like it was always like, even with her kids, she was just always like letting them just like explore their thoughts. And I think that is the difference between having had to be in like the linear algebra class that forced me to stop thinking for myself. Like it robbed me of my critical thinking skills, as ironic as that sounds, versus when I would go to GT classes. Like it was like welcomed and invited and like fun. Like school was fun, and it was easy, to make good grades and to be excited about the homeworks. Like it was a whole different type of experience where learning was about learning was about like getting to be you, and less about like making sure that your teacher got paid. I know that sounds probably shitty, but I was a teacher for 9 years. Like I've been through many degrees at many schools and done well, and in some places I didn't do so well, and it's just really, to me, that. And so I'm gonna read to you like this very long-winded prompt, right? And so remember that what I started off this video as. So here I'm going to close the circle. Okay, so the video was about like using is Claude or O1 Preview better? Claude's 3.5 Sonnet. Let's be like real specific. Is Claude's 3.5 Sonnet better than O1 Preview? Okay, well, that really depends. In this context, for asking like a pretty deep business intelligence level question for a business with data, with cleaned up data, they ended up being the same, but it also is probably a product of having really good data and a really strategic prompt. Now I'm going to read my prompt, and you tell me that it doesn't require like more than just tokenization to come up with the answer for this. All right. Can you please help me create the right prompt for how to maximize on this data? This is our business positioning. I have a few products or services I want to promote, but need concrete words to best reflect them. I have automation for websites that use high volume, long tail keywords with high traffic, low competition in whatever niche or topic the client might want. They either give me their topic or business or niche or whatever they are trying to generate traffic for, and I automate building funnel websites that capture this adjacent traffic in less typical ways. So not by ranking at the top using SEO, but rather by ensuring that the funnel sends readers to the client's main websites, in essence, sending it link juice. If they do their own research, then I only bill $50 per website. So $50 per one long tail keyword for a website that I include in a link cluster, and $100 a month per long tail keyword site for 4 weekly posts that I monitor for data points to make sure it's getting picked up by AI search engines and regular Google search. All the science behind that includes like all this stuff that I include for SEO, which I talk about in other videos. And then I even say like, I don't know that I want to disclose all this because I would want them to sign an NDA. But even so, like maybe they don't need to know all of this stuff because I don't want to disclose secret sauce. But I'm using a UTM to track each time a reader clicks on the link to send them to their websites, which they should see in their own website traffic in their Google Search Console. So we have data-driven proof that is trustworthy because it is verifiable by them, right? So that's a difference between me. I don't ask people to give me reviews other than on LinkedIn because those like go a long way. But those have been like so far actually like I've had people give me like really everyone has given me like really like amazing, awesome, solid professional reviews, and I always welcome them, but I also know that I can generate deep fakes that make it look like someone gave me a review, right? And I've thought about making a video about that because I think that's something people should be aware of. Like digital influencers to sell your product is a thing, homies. It's like coming down the pipeline from like the bigger companies. Like just be sure that you're aware. They do disclose that it's a digital human, but if you're not paying attention to that, or if you're swayed more by like the appearance of the digital human, like it's probably gonna be one of those tricky algorithms that is good at sucking you in, right? So that's why I use data that people can prove for themselves, to themselves in their own way, like that what I'm saying is true. And then this way too, if we see discrepancies, we can test it ourselves in the moment because I save the data to my own VPS, not via Google Analytics, because there's so many questions about like the truthiness of Google Analytics, right? And the YouTube media links and stuff like that. But the stuff that I'm doing, like we can confirm that it is actually what I'm reporting, right? It's not like overly complicated, fancy, like reports that don't make sense or anything like that. It's just like literally like on this day at this time, someone clicked on this link that sent them to your website, and like that's where my promise ends, right? Like that's what I'm saying I can do for you. Like once they get to your website, if you need further help with that, that's a separate conversation. But like as far as like I'm sending all these people to your website, so your website needs to like then pick up the ball, kind of like or pick up, like pick up what I dropped off. I don't know what the words are, like when you pass the baton, it needs to like take the baton and run, right? So that's what I'm promising. Still a lot less than if you had to pay for like keywords. So I still know people that are like paying through the nose for keywords when they get their websites built. I'm not saying that's wrong. Like Google is still a thing, and I think that people that understand that business, in that way, like I think that they have every right to continue to be the amazing salespeople that they are and like do the great job that they do for what they do. I'm an AI architect, so like I see the future here. It's already here. All right, so that's enough like preaching, but so it's verifiable by them. If we see discrepancies, we can test it ourselves in the moment because I save the data to my own VPS, not via Google Analytics. So we can literally test if them clicking on their link from one of my websites reflects in their console correctly. If we see that it is not being tracked correctly, right? So these are the niches I'm catering to. So these are like my own, like pretending I was my own client, right? Because of course I'm doing this for myself at the same time. So every time that I see like, oh, there's an improvement I can make for my own stuff, because it's all on automation, like my clients' automation picks up the advantage. So I think I'm making it so it's hard to keep track of what I submitted to the LLMs. So that I'm gonna get back to just reading what I wrote. These are the niches I'm catering to: lawyers, roofers, medical, electricians, pets, teaching people about AI via downloadable digital products that are like mini courses, and anything that doesn't fit in those categories falls into entertainment as downloadable digital and audiobooks as PDFs. Our business goal is that we have to start making a profit ASAP. Our automation for that service offered is already to go. We need to figure out which downloadable mini courses to make, and very quickly I can start promoting them on social media because I am a micro influencer and taught kindergarten for 9 years, so I already have a level of trust factor. Now I have this data and I need a main website for each of these 7 clusters. This way I can use my own 7 websites as data points for how this is working well. I do not know how GoDaddy determines the estimated value, but I do have a handful that already are worth over $500 with minimal effort on my part. I have 2 data files that are already cleaned up, and I would please love your help in how to use this data to, number 1, determine which websites belong to which clusters. Each website has a description of what it is in the file merged output.csv under description. Number 2, determine which websites to make the main websites for each of these 7 topics. 2a, if there is not a great website, then use the data I have provided in combined SERP terms data.csv to suggest websites that will be very valuable very quickly and which I can use to send traffic to. We will have more objectives, but right now I need to get through this today. Here is an example of the data. So then in my CSVs, it's just all the stuff that I like routinely go over in other videos about how I download it from Ahrefs and what I get from Ahrefs and why I do and why I don't and what I do with the data afterwards. And then also a list of all of my domains and their value, or the GoDaddy projected value, their descriptions, and I think that that's like the core of it. I don't think that there's too much more in this data. Yeah, the site names, the descriptions, so this stuff that helps it automate being able to push the HTML into my like local computer, and then I just FTP everything in like chunks to my virtual private server. Right, so that's like a big, huge part of the automation, saving a ton of work. So that said, like this whole prompt, like, and then it gave me incredibly good steps that I would have come to anyway if I was a data scientist, like without AI or something at a bigger company or even a smaller company. Like it basically gave me the right answer, and both of them are the right answer. Like neither of these had any reason to pick one of these methods over the other when we talk about the code. So yeah, if anybody doesn't think that the answers that both of these LLMs gave go far beyond what a token by token answer looks like, then I think you need to like reevaluate how much credit you're giving people or yourself for like being able to come up with answers, or maybe, and by that I mean like you're not giving yourself enough credit for how much cognitive stuff that takes to be able to put that kind of question together and get an answer for it, right? So is it AGI? I can't claim it's AGI, right? Like like I'll just create all sorts of nonsense for myself if I say that. I'm just saying like this is not like a tokenization answer anymore. So in data science bootcamp, like we had to come up with a program that would like tell us like if the guy that wrote Cat in the Hat were to write another book, what would it say? And that one does use TF-IDF cosine similarity, and it tells you like this is probably what it would look like, and you wouldn't be able to tell that it was written by an AI versus a like the Cat in the Hat guy. I can't believe I forgot his name, right? You wouldn't be able to tell, but that's like tokenization. That was like really like rudimentary machine learning, which is very different from an answer like these that they each gave. So this is like October 3rd, 2024. In, I would say, maybe March of 2024, I wasn't seeing this kind of, I wouldn't have been able to get that kind of answer with the data that I gave it, because I tested it many times. I've been testing this for over a year, like different ways, just kind of like seeing what kinds of stuff it can do. There is not like any evidence that it would have been able to give me something like this with GPT-3 or with the other versions of Sonnet. And I also don't know, like, if I were to take this question and dump it into GPT-3, GPT-2, like the other versions of Claude, like maybe it would have given me even a better answer. I don't know, but I'm not going to spend my time testing something that's already in the past. And I'm not going to spend my time, coming up with ridiculous, tricky test questions to see if it's smart enough to discern what I'm saying. Because I don't see any point in that. Like, my goal is to like help local businesses and individuals like feel the benefits of AI the same way that I feel them, or better, or in their own way, like basically like embrace the AI and like use it to your advantage, right? Because it's still really available to us before the EU like imposes limitations or something. Just like use it as much as you can. Like it'll help you if you let it help you, and if you figure out how to find the right people to teach you how to let it help you, or if you figure out how to let it help you yourself. And the reason why I say this is that I am not gonna spend my time in a nerd lab, coming up with ways to come up with Turing tests, because I still insist that making an LLM or an AI that we already know is way smarter than any of us, because if by anything alone, like it has more memory capacity. So whether or not you believe that memory is what shows intelligence, it's a factor. I think it's a combination of 3 different things. Definitely memory is one of them. So I don't know if you've ever noticed, but people that are usually valedictorians have like really good memories, but they also have like really good like cognitive skills, right? So that's the combination of, I think, intelligence. But you rarely see someone that only has one and not the other. And if you do, those are people we usually call incompetent. So like a doctor that can pass their med boards, but then they don't know what to do. Like excellent memory, but like literally incompetent, right? So like I am not seeing a sign of incompetence, because the AI is not just like spitting out tokens that don't make any sense. And the times that it has, it's also been because I must have had like really shitty prompts or like really bad data, right? But now that I've cleaned that up, like done my part of it, I am seeing that it is able to give me answers that are beyond probably what I would have gotten from a person. A person wouldn't have been able to like this cleanly tell me what to do. I know, because I've worked with like, business people, and they like, and I mean, I'm a business person now and stuff, right? Like it's rare that you'll get something this good from a human. And so the reason I'm not going to spend my time coming up with these ridiculous, pointless tests is because also they're based on like these people that are writing these tests, right? I'm not trying to throw shade on them. I just think like when I see all of these like influencers that are basically like gossips that are playing telephone, it's like I guess they either don't have access to, or don't have a reason to, or are doing their role as like the initial gossip to like disseminate the information about the tests and the benchmarks, right? And I think Matthew Berman, who's really gained a lot of my respect, and I don't know the guy, like trust me, like I have my own life over here, like I'm not trying to, like be crushing on anybody, nothing like that. Like that's like not my intention, because I actually like I'm waiting for my AI boyfriend, and in any case, like that's not what I'm trying to say here. It's just like when you're a female, it's like no, I'm not giving you all this attention because I like you. It's because you have something to say, not because I'm like chasing you, right? That I think that's just been like something I've had to like make sure people are aware of. Like if I'm interested, it's probably for a brief moment because I fixate and then I like absorb what I can and then I go on to the next like interesting YouTuber or whatever, right? But anyway, what I'm trying to say is like this is all just like information to me, right? And so I think he's like brilliant because he's coming up with his own Turing tests. And I don't know that he's a physicist and that it matters if a marble rolls on a table, but I can see why that question is relevant as compared to, you know, like the other math tests. So the point I'm trying to make, and then I'm gonna like get back to work on this stuff, is that we have math that describes things up to a certain point, and we can't claim that our math is perfect or accurate. I think that the fact that there was so much backlash about whether or not Terrence Howard was making things up when, you know, or he was crazy and stuff, when people were like 1 times 1 isn't equal to 2. Well, I like wrote a Python program that was like really easy to write, that if you're talking about quantum physics, actually you can make 1 times 1 equal 2. It's not the way I would represent it, but it's not true, you know? And so we want to use math that we have demonstrated time and again falls short of the things that we're discovering, right? Like, how is it that you want the LLM to prove to me and to you and to us humans how smart it is by making it do things that it already knows are probably not like good enough for what it knows? Further, it would be like if I hear my dog barking at me, right? And my dog in his dog brain with his dog woof woof, like expects me to be able to turn around and say woof woof the right way back and do whatever it is he needs me to do for him to trust me and believe that I am like more capable than it. That is what these stupid benchmarks are doing as far as I'm concerned, right? Maybe I need to stop and look at the questions myself, but when I see other people reading the questions, like, well, like, number one, why are you trying to trick it? You know, like if you were my employee and you came up to me and told me that, I'd fire you, because I'd be like, you're trying to create confusion when I'm trying to, you know, like get this job done so that people can like go home to their families. Like that, like I don't understand how the lab stuff like transitions into the real world, right? So like, you know, and I think that they're misguided. I think that they're severely misguided questions. So when I say that I really think it does have like human level discernment now, right? Or if anything, like its corpus of data is solid enough, my input is clean enough, and my prompts are like sharp enough to where it's working better than I could have expected. And this is like the level of quality that I get when I go do this, like as an AI engineer, AI architect, whatever, when I get hired. Like this is the level of quality that I get out of those projects. So if you are a business person, right, and you're wondering like, I don't even know where to begin, or which one do I use, which one do I believe? Well, I again will always go back to like, it depends on the quality of your question and your data. If you want to know if you don't have another way to measure the quality, like you don't really know how to use statistics or whatever to measure it, or you don't have enough data points, even if you know more statistics than like all the doctors in the world put together, right? Like if you get very similar outputs from the different LLMs, even if they might use different processes to get you that overarching step in your solution, then you probably have good data and good questions, right? Otherwise, like, you wouldn't be that precise. And I know that that's like kind of a hacky way to do that, but like I can't think of other ways to do this, right? So if you have any questions, like once I'm all good to go, I think I actually can't tell you like which website, because that's what I'm gonna do this analysis for tonight. It's only 10 o'clock here, so it's gonna be like I've been working throughout the night. It's just easier for me because my phone's not ringing off the hook and stuff, and I'm less distracted. I'll like find out like which website I'm even supposed to be pushing traffic to, and I'll post another video on that. And I really want to make more of like the creative videos. I really want to dive into biogeometry and its uses with AI and pets and humans, and like the different esoteric teachings about like the soul consciousness coupled with what it means that AI is coming into our reality, you know, and we're like whole beings, like WHOLE beings, right? Like I really need, my soul is calling me to go do that, but I do need to make a living, so I better just get this done. Thanks for listening to me. Have a great day. Evening, or if you're in Australia, I guess, have a great morning.